Welcome to Curiosity Zone. In today's video, Russia continues to pound Ukrainian territories. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is accusing Russia of acting treacherously following deadly attacks by kamikaze drones and rockets. Russia kills civilians, hits housing, infrastructure, he says in a post on social media. Today, as a result of the occupiers' attack on a residential building in Kyiv, 4 people have already died. Among them is a young family who was expecting a child. Terror must lose and will lose, and Ukraine will prevail, the Ukrainian leader stresses, vowing to bring to justice every Russian terrorist, from commanders to privates who carried out criminal orders. A joint Belarus-Russian troop grouping has begun the task of protecting the Union state, says Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Krenin, amid concerns in the West that it may be used as a launchpad for an offensive against Ukraine. But Krenin is quoted as saying that we are not going to attack anyone, and that the force's aims are purely defensive. He did not specify how many troops are in the grouping, or where it has been deployed, but Minsk earlier said that just under 9,000 Russian soldiers would be sent to Ukraine's northern neighbor. Belarus has been a key Russian ally since the start of Moscow's invasion on the 24th of February. Russia's failed offensive on Ukraine's capital Kyiv was launched from Belarusian soil. Ukraine's military says it is monitoring all the latest developments in Belarus, and its troops are prepared for any eventualities. In Kyiv's Shevchenkivsky district, rescuers are still searching for survivors in the ruins of a block of flats that partially collapsed after this morning's attack. The street is cordoned off and dozens of firefighters and emergency workers are at scene. 4 people have now been confirmed dead here, after the body of a man was found. The victims include a pregnant woman. Across the street, the offices of Ukraine's energy company were also hit. The facility was probably the intended target of the strike, carried out by so-called kamikaze attack drones, supplied by Iran to Russia. Kyiv says this is how Moscow is responding to military defeats on the battlefield, by attacking critical infrastructure ahead of winter. The city's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, said 28 drones were fired at the capital, and that only 5 hit targets. Russia has increased the use of this weapon in attacks across the country, as it seeks to avoid using long-range precision missions. Ukraine is, again, saying it needs more help to improve its air defense systems. Residents, meanwhile, say they are not afraid. They are angry. A Russian journalist who became famous after holding an anti-war slogan during a live TV news broadcast in Moscow has fled the country. According to her lawyer, Marina Ovsyannikova left Russia with her daughter 2 weeks ago, hours after escaping house arrest. She made international headlines in March when she held a protest sign reading, "No War," while standing behind the newsreader during the flagship evening broadcast on state-controlled Channel 1 News. Ovsyannikova was later fined by the authorities for discrediting the Russian military, under a new law passed shortly after the invasion of Ukraine. Her lawyer says the pair were in Europe now and would talk to the press as soon as it was safe. The former producer for the Kremlin-run TV channel has been put on a wanted list. Posting photos which can identify downed drones on social media helps Russia know if their attacks have succeeded or failed, a Ukrainian military instructor and journalist has said. Pavlo Kashchuk says the Iranian drones used by Russia are fully autonomous and fly a pre-programmed route to their assigned target linked to their serial number. He says because there is no additional communication from the drone, the Russian military do not know if it has successfully hit its assigned target. The only source of information on whether it flew the correct path or the strike was successful are photos posted on social networks or in the media where a serial number is visible, he adds. He adds Russia uses these photos posted to work out if the drone hit its intended target, which could allow him to attack again using a route which was successful. Ukraine's grain exports this October are just 2.4% lower than in 2021 despite the Russian invasion and the closure of several seaports, new data quoted by Reuters suggests. So far in October, Ukraine has exported 2.12 metric tons of grain, versus 2.17 metric tons in the same period last year, the Agriculture Ministry is quoted as saying. Global food prices increased and there were fears of shortages in Africa and the Middle East after Russia's invasion closed off Ukraine's Black Sea ports. 3 ports were finally unblocked at the end of July under a deal between Moscow and Kyiv, brokered by the UN and Turkey. So-called kamikaze drones were used by Russia today to attack the capital of Ukraine. The low-flying drones carry explosives which detonate on impact, destroying the drones and their target. It's believed that Iranian-made Shahed-136 drones were used in this morning's attacks. Also known as the Geranium-2, this type of device is designed to be able to stay airborne over a target until instructed to attack. It can be hard to detect them by radar due to their small size. Footage has now emerged apparently showing Ukrainian national police officers using their assault rifles to shoot down a Russian drone. In the video, one of the officers is heard saying in Ukrainian, "Shoot, if they drones are coming." Other officers are then shouting, "Here, here, right above," before multiple shots are fired. Loud noise is then heard, before what looks like a drone crashes nearby and explodes. The video has the watermark in Ukrainian Patrol Police, and Ukrainian Interior Ministry advisor Anton Herishchenko says an Iranian drone was shot down. The video appears to have been filmed in central Kyiv, near the main rail station. EU foreign ministers have agreed to provide military training for up to 15,000 Ukrainian soldiers. The military assistance mission has been signed off at a meeting in Luxembourg today, at a cost of more than €100 million, $97.5 million, £86 million. The program will take place on EU territory with a mandate for an initial 2-year period, providing individual, collective and specialized training to Ukraine's armed forces. One diplomat suggested it will take a few more weeks before the mission is actually deployed. They said that's because it was so unique in model and scope that operational details still needed to be worked through. EU Foreign Affairs Chief, Josep Borrell, said the decision was clear proof that the EU would stand by Ukraine for as long as it needed. Poland is expected to host most of the actual training while the operational headquarters will be in Brussels. Russian troops seized the nuclear plant, Europe's largest, in early March. Moscow has so far made no public comments on the latest Ukrainian accusations. Both Ukraine and Russia have blamed each other for previous attacks near the plant, amid fears that this could lead to a major radiation contamination in Europe. As the result of Russian attacks over the past 24 hours, 585 towns and villages across Ukraine are now without power, Ukraine's Deputy Interior Minister Yevhen Yenin says. Speaking live to Ukrainian TV, he says the Russians terrorized not only the capital, Kyiv, but whole regions of Ukraine. Yenin says the confirmed death toll of a Russian strike on an energy-generating facility in Ukraine's northeastern Sumy region has risen to 4. The local authorities earlier reported 3 victims, see our earlier post. A similar attack was carried out in the southeastern Dnipropetrovsk region, he says. There were no casualties. Russia is hunting for all energy-related facilities, the Deputy Interior Minister warns. They want to cause chaos in the energy industry. Civilians with weapons in Ukraine should not try to shoot down drones, officials have warned. In statement, Internal Affairs Minister Denis Monastyrsky said the probability of one being successfully hit by an untrained person was extremely low, on top of the risk they could injure themselves or others. Monastyrsky says people who see a drone in flight should inform the authorities instead. The statement comes amid growing calls for people to fire upon Russian drones themselves, with some photos with instructions for destroying the Russian weapons being shared widely on social media. Moscow has met its targets for the partial mobilization, declared by President Vladimir Putin in September, and Russian army draft offices in the city will be shut down later today, its mayor says. Sergei Sobyanin also said mobilization orders issued during the drive have become void. Should this apply to other Russian regions, it would mean that the tens of thousands of draft dodgers who fled Russia in recent weeks could officially be in the clear. Mobilization had become an ordeal for thousands of Moscow families, the mayor said, but added that thanks to the responsibility, sense of duty and patriotism of Muscovites, the task of partial mobilization was fulfilled. Addressing recruits, Sobyanin said in a statement, "We are all worried and concerned about your fate, about the difficulties and dangers that lie ahead of you and that you are already facing. We hope and pray that you return safe and sound. Return with victory. Having defended the security and independence of our country, Russia has taken to using kamikaze drones to strike Ukraine because they are relatively cheap and ineffective. If you enjoyed our video, kindly like, share and subscribe to our channel for more curiosity videos. Thank you for watching.